This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Shashina Roll. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Sad news tonight. The Grand Bahama community is mourning the passing of a veteran educator and an exemplary leader. The Ministry of Education tonight. The Ministry of Education's top executive passed away suddenly. Our Joan Davis Roll has the top story.
Just, when she was created, the mold was broken. She is awesome and great.
Education officials were washed in tears as word of the sudden passing of Deputy Director of Education Sandra Edgecomb spread like wildfire. Initial reports say that the veteran educator was found unresponsive in her vehicle in the parking lot of the Ministry of Education, located at the C.A. Smith Government Complex Tuesday morning when she was rushed by ambulance to the Rand Memorial Hospital. Many gathered at the hospital awaiting word about Edgecombe's condition. It was a short time later when the shocking confirmation came that a woman who had taught many to soar like a blue jay had suddenly and unexpectedly stopped soaring as well.
I was informed within the past hour that Mrs. Edgecombe, the Deputy Director for the Northern Bahamas, had died, and I found it shocking. And so immediately I proceeded to the Rand Memorial Hospital, where I met the District Education Officer, Mr. Marvin Rule, and he confirmed the news. I am still trying to come to grips and to get my mind around it.
I got a message and I was concerned about her earlier, and they just told me that she was all right at the hospital and they were running some tests. So at that time, I just put it out of my head. I didn't think that I would hear the message I heard shortly after. And so I don't even know what to even think. The first thing is that my thoughts and prayers are with her husband and son, and sincere condolences, because if it's a shock for the rest of us, God knows what Mr. Edgecombe must be going through right now.
We just spoke yesterday evening. We had a press conference this morning, and I got a call that she wasn't doing well. So just calling to check up on her, I got the news, and so I'm here now. And the last thing she said to me, we were talking the other day, and she was just cracking a little joke. So it was, pretty good. She will be missed.
Education executives, former and present, say Sandra Edgecombe left an indelible mark, not only in education, but on the lives of countless persons she touched in her own unique way.
This news coming the way it has, I'm sure it's devastating to the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology, family in general, and the Grand Bahama district in particular.
She had a way of communicating with people that personified a human touch. And that's, when you're a union and you're with management, you don't always agree on every issue. But I must say, working with Ms. Edgecombe was a pleasure. I miss her already.
Veteran Ministry of Education executive Sandra Edgecombe, dead at the age of 58. Joan Davis Roll, ZNS Network News.
The Minister of Education, Science and Technology, the Honorable Jerome Fitzgerald, expressing condolences on the passing of Deputy Director of Education Sandra Edgecombe. Fitzgerald telling ZNS News moments ago that her passing comes as a shock that is being felt throughout the district and indeed throughout the educational system.
We have lost a giant of an educator, a very close personal friend of mine who I have come to admire and respect during the couple of years I had the pleasure of working with her, and it is a very, very sad day, and I pray for her family, for her husband, for the people of Grand Bahama, and indeed all of us in education. It is a horrific and very, very big loss to us.
Fitzgerald says Edgecombe was a consummate professional and a career educator who ascended from trainee teacher to trained teacher, reaching the pinnacle of her career as Deputy Director of Education with responsibility for Grand Bahama, Bimini, and Grand Key. He says Edgecombe placed education and her students at the forefront of her agenda every day, and he says she will be missed.
He was always there to help teachers, district superintendents, administrators, principals. She was someone who really cared and who also worked very closely with the union, which is one of the things I really respected about her. She had a very good working relationship with the union and its executives on Grand Bahama, and we were always able to resolve issues very quickly there as a result of that. She was someone who above all, really, as I said, cared about education and national development. I mean, there was no doubt that education was a passion and a purpose, and she was born to be an educator and a leader, and that's what she was.
Well, Minister for Grand Bahama, Dr. Michael Darville, say today is a sad day in education. Sandra Edgecombe moved to the 8 Mile Rock High School in 1978, and Dr. Michael Darville says during a 27-year stint at that institution, Edgecombe not only affected the lives of her students, but brought about positive changes within the 8 Mile Rock community. He credits the fallen educator with implementing various programs in the areas of academics, sports, and culture, and that our programs resulted in the school gaining respect and admiration from many citizens on Grand Bahama. Dr. Darville says Edgecombe's career blossomed upon leaving 8 Mile Rock High School in 2005. That's when she was elevated to the post of superintendent for Eastern Grand Bahama and Grand Key and deputy director for Grand Bahama, Grand Key, and Bimini, where she continued her diligent work until her untimely death. Dr. Darville says Edgecombe was truly a beacon and an educational icon in the Grand Bahama community who will be sadly missed. Now, Sandra Edgecombe spent 31 years in the teaching profession. The majority of that time was spent at the 8 Mile Rock High School. She climbed the ranks, eventually becoming principal, and that's where she gained the title Mother Blue Jay. The news of her passing sending the entire school body in a state of shock, forcing the early dismissal of classes today. Principal of the 8 Mile Rock High School, Ivan Butler, telling ZNS News that Blue Jay country is in a state of sorrow due to the sudden and untimely passing of Mother Blue Jay. He says the 8 Mile Rock High School, its many students and alumni of Blue Jay Nation are mourning Edgecombe's loss and are offering condolences to Edgecombe's husband, son, and wife, and the educational family as they all try to come to terms with such a loss. Butler says during her tenure at the 8 Mile Rock High School, Edgecombe was more than an educator, but she was also a pillar in the 8 Mile Rock community, as many look to her for advice and counsel. The 8 Mile Rock principal says the next few days will be difficult for the Blue Jays in Blue Jay country, but they will press on in memory of Mother Blue Jay, who has made a difference in the lives of hundreds of students throughout that district. And tonight, the president of the Grand Bahama Christian Council also expressing sadness on the sudden passing of the Grand Bahama top educational official.
Dictionary and there. That's right. Yes.
Her smile, her passion for education, and her distinct articulation of words are perhaps some of the most resounding characteristics of Deputy Director of Education Sandra Edgecombe. The shock of her sudden passing has gripped the island and, by extension, the nation. President of the Grand Bahama Christian Council, Rev Peter Pinder, says today is certainly a sad day on Grand Bahama.
Anyone passes, somebody is impacted by the death, but there are persons who have made such significant contribution to society as a whole that when they pass, the whole community feels the loss. In this case, I am sure not only Grand Bahama, but the Bahamas would feel the loss of Sandra Edgecombe.
Edgecombe had a special love for education and could be seen at just about every event that involved the sector, including the school's sports days. Many times she boasted about her love for education, while oftentimes speaking candidly about her passion for the 8 Mile Rock High School.
For many years, she was out there doing all that she could to help children grow and develop. And she was a principal at the 8 Mile Rock High School. She made a significant difference to that school and to the community. And even as the Deputy Director of Education, she went from place to place, motivating, representing, and so this is a tragic loss. However, we can take comfort in the fact that during her lifetime, she made a great contribution.
Reverend Pinder says Edgecombe left an indelible mark on all she met.
We ought to feel that while we've lost her and she's gone, let's give thanks for her contribution, and let's remember the contributions that she made rather than feeling despair.
Now, the Deputy Director of Education, Sandra Edgecomb, was 58 at the time of her death, and she will be missed. Stay with us. There's more news right after this.
Bringing news that matters to you. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight Northern Edition.
Welcome back. The Kamalami Awards Foundation taking the community back in time. The foundation recently honored the first Bahamian woman to grace the cover of the largest black publishing magazine in the world. The recognition came as a big surprise. It was an historic moment in 1968 as then 18-year-old Elizabeth Bridges promoted the islands of the Bahamas during a tourism campaign in Ebony magazine. On Tuesday, the Kamalami Awards Committee called the former queen to the C.A. Smith complex. But she had no idea that she would be taken down memory lane to unveil a portrait of the cover that was seen all over the world.
I was very nervous because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what McMahon was up to, but he was up to something, and it was something huge. The whole Ebony magazine team was there, and I did a lot of different shots with them, and it just flooded me, all of those memories.
Bridges was also the first Miss Bahamas to work for the Ministry of Tourism. Chavez Campbell, co-founder of the Kamalami Awards, says it was not easy locating this cover. After contacting Ebony magazine, the committee had to hire an agent to go through the archives, become registered as a non-profit organization, the whole process costing over $1,000, but he says it was worth it.
We see this magazine every time, but we don't associate that cover with Elizabeth Bridges being the first female and currently the only female to be on the cover of Ebony magazine, which is the world-leading African-American magazine. So I think now to date, bringing the magazine to the forefront in the C.A. Smith complex, along with the other Kamalami photographs, it gives us a sense of connection and a cultural identity as to our contribution, not just within the Bahamas, but in the world at large.
Bridges is leaving these words of advice for young women today.
And I would like to see young women today really respect and have regard for themselves, and not be afraid or ashamed to be a bit old-fashioned with old values and things that we really grew up with. We're losing that, and that's sad. And I really would like to see women become proud of themselves and willing to really be models for themselves and for even younger girls coming up.
The Jack Harewood High School family honoring a man who has given decades of service to the teaching profession. The elated honoree says he's happy he was able to make a contribution to the youth of the country. Megan Shepard has the story.
After 45 years in the fields of education, Neville Brennan is celebrating his pre-retirement. Students, colleagues, and education officials gathering at Jack Harewood High School to honor Mr. Brennan, who has served in various capacities at all of the public schools on the island. He says it is truly an honor to be recognized.
I'm just so pleased that they have gone out of their way to make this morning such a pleasant morning for me. The stretched limo was a surprise within itself, and that comfortable ride to the school, and the whole welcoming was just something that is going to be memorable for years as I go into the twilight years.
Throughout his years, Brennan has had the opportunity to travel the country. He says while he has had his ups and downs in the profession, the good days will always outweigh the not so good.
I did a stint in Auckland's Crooked Island, Eleuthera, a little period in West End, a period in Auckland's. Right after our marriage, we went to Auckland's, and the years have gone by so quickly, but it's been an enjoyable experience. I was able to say every day when I got up, I am energetic and pleased to go to work. Never to groan and say, oh, if I did this, I could only have another holiday. Yes, that thought was there, but I was just energetic and ready to work every day. And I've enjoyed every day of it.
Brennan enjoys a number of recreation activities and says once he retires, the plan is to simply relax.
I've had people who say, Mr. Brennan, as soon as you rest, come. So there's work. And there are some areas that I'm interested in. Having taken care of my mother and my mother-in-law to some extent, I still have that. I have this passion for the aged persons and doing some special work with them. So that might be one of the areas that I might find myself in. But I'm just going to rest a while, and then one of these days going to wake up and say, enough of that, let's go.
Megan Shepard, ZNS Network News.
Love you, Mr. Brennan.
Thank you, Megan. And Mr. Brennan was honored last week by his peers. And this special announcement, the offices of ZNS Northern Service will be closed Thursday, April 2nd through Monday, April 6th to facilitate maintenance that will be taking place throughout the Harold Gregory building. As a result, we will not be on the air during that period. Our offices will reopen on Tuesday, April 7th at 9 a.m. Stay with us. Ricardo Liborn has a check on sports when we return.
Everybody, welcome to Sports and Ricardo Liborn. Let's get right to it. The Grand Bahama Basketball Association Division I Championship, folks. It started last night at the St. George's Gym. The Cruisers and Pumpers, so let's go courtside. The B&B Galaxy Pumpers and the Grand Bahama Shipyard Cruisers laced up the sneakers into Division I doozy. Anton Thompson with the jumper, and he's looking good for the Cruisers. The Pumpers' Jabbar Lightborn had a strong move in the paint and the deuce, but Jay Philippe had other plans and the range early. This was a big man's game. Luciano Bartlett with the hustle in the paint and working on a 19-point outing. Franco Miller working that baseline, a 12-point game at that. Big man Scott Forbes showing that he still, too, can shoot the rock. B&B Tomasio Dames got out to a slow start, but 11 points to show for it. The Mullings family out for the playoffs and on to the late Keith 7-footer Mullings, 41-39 Pumpers at the break. Amado Hepburn showing that he too can shoot the rock. That's good from Settler's Way. The Cruisers' Jay Philippe was ticked off and showed that he too have got the range. The B&B Pumpers led this thing 67-56 after 3 quarters of play. Jay keeping this one and chipping away. He had a 33-point game. Final seconds of the game now. Jay with the fast break, and he is fouled and will go to the line. Jay hits the first and to tie the game at 80. The second, that's good to take the lead, and a timeout by the Pumpers. The B&B Galaxy sponsors, Sheena and the crew throwing in the towel. It's a done deal. Okay, like the weekend for Sheena stuck in the canal in the back of her home and can't get out. Throw Sheena a rope. Peter still a ladder. Let's go back to the game now. 4 seconds on the clock. The Pumpers ball inbound pass to Jabbar Lightborn. Watch the move and the basket at the buzzer. It's good. Pumpers hold on, 82-81. A big shot for Jabbar.
We played great to the beginning, but we let them came back. It became a pretty close game. So we worked hard and we keep fighting and we pull it off.
We had some scares in the third quarter and early fourth. but they came together good. You know, this is a very experienced team. You have the three the hard way I call them. You got Franco, Scott, and 3 youngs, all collegiate players. So they come with experience.
We got to get back to the drawing board and go over some stuff and come back ready to fight tomorrow. It's a long series, so we're not out of it by a long shot, but we'll be back and ready tomorrow.
And they're going to play that game at 8 o'clock tonight. And yeah, my colleague and friend and pal Shashina was in the canal stuck for over an hour. That's why they had some problems. That's a look at sports.